I've made some changes to how I'm viewing YouTube, and I deleted everybody that I was subscribing to and decided to only look at people that had subscribed to me. And I'll focus my attention on what videos people within the group that are listening to me, what have you got to say? And I've noticed that there's an awful lot of religious people, a lot of people that believe in Jesus, and Jesus is the way to get to God. And I truly, truly believe without a doubt anybody that is devoted to their religion and devoted to their beliefs and devoted towards doing what's good in the world are really, really good people. I really, really, truly believe people that are really believing in their Bibles, all different Bibles, they are really, truly great people. But here's the problem is our books that we believe in are creating beliefs that are destroying our planet. And it's like everything that we believe to be true turns out to be completely false. That's what this big awakening is about. When we see our world destroyed, it's kind of our wake up call that, hey, maybe we're doing something a little wrong. And for the most part, our beliefs are coming from our religions, our books that we believe in. Where do you get your belief systems from? Now, I've had several debates about the Bible. Happen to think that probably evil wrote that Bible because a lot of things don't make any sense. And, as soon as I say something that goes against a Bible, all of a sudden I'm evil. All of a sudden I'm listening to some Satanist God and not the real God. And personally, I've always had a very close connection with God my whole entire life. I was physically abused when I was a kid. The only buddy I had in my life was God. I talked with God all the time. And the messages that I got from God were always really loving, really peaceful, very understanding, always guided me down a right direction. So I'm tending to listen to that God than I do over a book. But a lot of people think that I'm listening to Satan. But I'm not interested in an argument. I'm not interested in saying anybody else is really evil. We just have to sort of understand what the hell we're doing. And there's one aspect in that Bible that there's proof beyond a shadow of a doubt that God did not write those words. God did not inspire those words in any way, shape, or form. And that is the reality that in our Bible it says, spare the rod. Basically, what we are interpreting that message as humans, and we're all different. So we'll all perceive different words differently, but in the bigness, basically, spare the rod means beat the shit out of your kid. Now, a lot of people say that no, it just means discipline. It don't matter what kind of discipline you are doing. You are trying to manipulate your children to do things the way you believe it should be done. For the most part, if you can see that, getting an education, getting a good job, being the wealthy person, creating third world countries to create your wealth. Just look at Tony Robbins. There's so much harm that's being done by earning your wealth that as parents, this is what we're disciplining our children to be, is go for that almighty buck. Don't value human life, go for that almighty buck, because that's the meaning of your life is, when you're living well and you have a good income and you have a nice big house, then you have a happy family. Meanwhile, to earn that buck, you have to start being addicted to caffeine so that you can be awake longer and have more energy to focus 24/7 your time to earn that almighty buck. And who suffers? The family from it. Now, where I know beyond a doubt that is not the avenue to go. Is I've raised 4 children. They're all older now. I've had a little bit of life experiences. I've gone through an awful lot of abuse in the past 10 years raising these children. At the time that I ended up leaving my abusive husband, the abuse escalated while my youngest was 10 years old. And then there was 10, 12, 15, and 18 were the ages of my children. Now, I was brainwashed to believe in discipline as well, and ended up finding out that a lot of discipline is actually doing more harm to my children. But when I ended up leaving and the abuse escalated, what was happening is the wealthy guy, their father, would manipulate the children to have behaviors that were abusive towards me. So if I did any form of discipline, trust without a doubt, these children were designed and manipulated to be angry as friggin' hell. Their father would tell them stories that were nothing but lies towards me that would make them rageful. I mean, this man would promise them their biggest, wildest dream and then say, well, your mother told me I can't give it to you. So who are they going to be angry at? The mother. And yet that wasn't true. I wouldn't prevent them from having anything that they wanted. There was zero interest in preventing my children from having anything that would improve their life. That was a lie, but it happened consistently. And there's more than enough evidence to prove that. And these kids would come at me with their rage. And when you have kids that are so full of rage, and this has been going on for years, and they're not sleeping properly and they're not eating properly, that rage has the potential to turn into physical violence. So if I did any form of discipline to teach my kids right from wrong, trust me, that meant I got beat. If you say you're grounded in your room, guess what? Those kids are walking out the door. And it could be at 1 o'clock at night. And that was part of my reality. I was dealing with a 10-year-old child that was walking out on the streets of Calgary at 1 o'clock at night by herself. Not exactly safe. But this is the manipulation from an abusive father that put this level of anger, and everything she believed to be true was creating her experience. And me as a parent had to somehow teach my kids right from wrong. So sparing that rod, only taught kids violence. If you want to teach your kids violence, then spare that rod. Use discipline, and you will manipulate your children to be criminals one way or another. But what I ended up finding out, which ended up giving me a lot more power as a parent to teach my children right from wrong, was more communication, more understanding, more love. Trying to understand, where did they come up with the beliefs that they come up with, and question them. Does that really work for you? Does that make you happy? The one instance where my daughter was running away, she was like, nobody loves me. And it's like, okay, I was working 24/7 trying to get an education, so my time to spend with my children were gone. Like, they really needed a parent, and their parent was taken away from them. So I had to use my communication skills with my daughter, even though she was 9 years old at the time and going through hell. I had to communicate with her and let her know these are the bills, and somehow this bill has to be paid, and the only way I can see it is by doing this education. But I know you need some of my time. Let's try and make a date together. But then, even if you get a little bit of my time, you have to believe that I love you. And you have to choose what you want to believe in. Do you want to believe I don't love you just because I have to work so freaking hard to be able to put food on the table? Or do you want to believe that me working hard means I love you? And as soon as you start having conversations with that makes them think. That makes them question, what is it I want to believe in? Now, this went on for years. As soon as I would do any form of discipline, right away, the deadbeat's right there offering some kind of bribe, because he's trying to get out of his friggin' child support. And it's like, get the kids out of the house. His motivation was try to get the kids living out of no parent. He wanted the children to be homeless. He didn't want to financially support them, but I mean, if they wanted to live with him, he was in there like a dirty shirt charging them rent. He charged my 16-year-old son $300 a month for room and board. 16-year-old, while he was visiting with his father for the summer. A child that wanted to visit and spend time with his father. His father charged him $300 a month. Yet he's not spending one dime to financially support his own friggin' children. And what was the mentality? I'm trying to teach my kids responsibility. Yet he showed no actions of being responsible himself, but he would take advantage of his children at any time he possibly could. What does that teach kids? What rules were generated from that mentality? Um, so I guess to conclude is really question what you believe in. Is that Bible something that is a good thing or a bad thing? Do we really want to teach our children violence? Or do we want to maybe have a conversation with them? Really examine what it is they choose to believe in, and does what they believe in actually benefit their lives, benefit your family lives, benefit the community, and benefit our globe? And if you can see it from that kind of perspective, you'd see that there's a few things wrong with the Bibles that we believe in. And yet, as our world is falling apart, we want to do more of everything that doesn't work. So that's all I'm kind of suggesting is let's try and examine what our religions are doing. They're making judges out of us. It is the very thing that's separating us, because while one book is appearing to be, the way to get to God and the way to be doing everything good, you're going to judge everybody else that's not believing as you do to be at war with you. So the more our world falls apart and the more we believe religion is going to be the way that answers all our problems, and these religious books are the ways to believe this is how we solve all our problems, maybe question it, because it's a way to destroy our world a little bit faster. Peace out.